Earnestly podcast coming to you on February 8th, 2021. Folks, football season is officially over. Now, in years past, I'd be depressed about that fact. But I'm 41. I'm 40, turning 41 years old later this year. Not say later this year. Well, technically later this year, but a couple months from now. And I'm a more mature human being. You know, sports isn't the only thing in my life anymore. Now, 15 years ago, you could make the case that it'd be a depressing time. But now I have 2 kids and a wife and bills to pay and other things to take care of and other hobbies that it's just part of my life. And I think the thing is also, too, is now that football is over, I can, it allows me to miss it again. By the time we get to June, July, into August, into preseason, I'm going to miss it. I want it back. If I had it in my face all the time, I wouldn't appreciate it as much. So, anyway, first off, this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Amazon Music. Also on YouTube. All our shows are on YouTube. In fact, this episode, and almost every episode going forward, as long as it's able to do so, will now have a video aspect. So if you listen to this show right now, if you're watching this show right now on YouTube or any of the social media platforms, I'm waving at you right now. Hello. Earnestly podcast here in the house. We've been adding clips to the YouTube page. I'll be honest with you, the YouTube page is probably the best page to find all the stuff in the last year. Because the podcast feed, every so often you got to refresh it. We got to, keep it clean and clear up space. So about a year after episodes, episodes about almost a year to a year old are pretty much going to be gone off the feed. But you can find those episodes actually in the library and on YouTube. So once again, waving people on YouTube. Hello, how you doing? Anyway, Super Bowl 55 in the books. And we can't be completely shocked. In fact, I told Boston Jack this, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Patriots fan, Brady, Homer, all that. And I told him that most people I've spoken to, prior to the game, in the weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, had Tampa winning this game. It wasn't an upset, not even by a long shot. There were a lot of people who really believed the Bucs that this was their time, regardless of the opponent, regardless of Pat Mahomes, regardless of the Chiefs and Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all that. A lot of people I spoke to in the weeks leading up to the game picked Tampa to win this game. I was leaning KC, but I made my position pretty clear from the word go that I was very concerned about Kansas City's offensive line. Missing 3 starters, one the Pro Bowl left tackle got hurt in the AFC title game. He obviously couldn't play this past Sunday, and that was the big deal. And that really played out. Now, I'm not saying if they were healthy that Kansas City would have probably won the game. Actually, probably could have won the game. But that didn't help. The Buccaneers defense was in Mahomes' face from the word go on most plays. I mean, an NFL record 25 times Patrick Mahomes was hurried and under pressure. A big Super Bowl record. And you got to give the Bucs credit. Defensively, they held things down. And I got to tell you, man, kudos to both offensive and defensive coordinators, Byron Leftwich, Todd Bowles. Dominant effort. Byron Leftwich called a phenomenal game. The plays he was calling, the gadget play, not to say gadget, but just the creativity of the play calling per drive was astounding. And to be honest with you, this game could have been worse. Remember, KC stopped the Bucs on 4th and goal. So this could have been a 38-9 game, actually, if you think about it. you know? But, yeah, you shouldn't be totally surprised. No one is. Most people aren't. As I said, leading to the game, most people actually picked Tampa to win this game. Whether that was Brady or just the optics, whatever it be, it didn't matter. Not a surprise at all. But yeah, kudos to the coordinators, first off. Tom Brady gets the MVP, obviously. No one's surprised. He had a really good game. I won't say he had a great game, but he made the right plays. Clean game, of course. Well, mostly clean game. I think he had a pick. Maybe he had a pick in the game. I'm not sure. I don't remember the actual numbers in the game. Who cares? I'm not checking it now. But yeah, he played a really clean game. But yeah, the defense. I mean, the thing is, all credit should go to the defense, because if that turns into a shootout, who's going to win the shootout against Mahomes? So the fact that the defense didn't even make it possible to be a shootout or to be within reach is why the most valuable player or unit is probably on the defensive side of the ball, as it should be. So the game that we thought we'd get, the game that we all figured, be a tight game, be a one for the ages, was definitely not one for the ages. Actually, it's probably one of the more boring Super Bowls we've watched in the last decade. It's definitely on the level of Seattle and Denver. Let's put it that way. It's that bad. It's that bad. So, I mean, all the narratives in the game really is this: Brady was number 7. Impressive, right? Obviously. I mean, but again, we had this conversation 2 weeks ago when they won in Green Bay, and everybody on social media reacting in the moment, being that knee jerk. And I get that. Sports fans are that fickle sometimes. Brady's the GOAT and this and that. And I'm gonna go back what I said to everybody 2 weeks ago. It stands now. Nothing changed. The Bucs lost this game. Nothing changes in Brady's legacy. He's still the GOAT. That's not going to change. That wasn't dictated on this win or the win against Green Bay 2 weeks ago. This is already written in the stars already. This, in my opinion, was actually written 5 years ago. So again, without being a complete dick here, folks, welcome to the party. You're 5 years late. Brady's been the GOAT, man. He's been the GOAT. And by the way, 5 years is actually being kind. I was actually calling him 1A, 1B with Montana when he had 3 rings. Just for the record. It's on record. Go look at my old podcast, read my articles from back in 2013-14. Tom Brady was already in that conversation with 3 rings. The guy's won 4 more rings in the last 7 years. And he's in his mid-40s now. About to enter his mid-40s before training camp. That is insanity. And, is he retiring? Why the fuck would he retire? Like, seriously, why would he retire? The game is easier to play at his age than at any point. The rules are skewed for offenses. Skewed for people like Tom Brady. Which is why it's kind of sad to see Drew Brees fall apart this last year. But Tom Brady, and my wife can't stand Tom Brady. I'm here singing the phrases. Look, I was rooting for the Chiefs last night. I'm not, let's be clear. I wanted Andy Reid to get another ring. I'm not mad Brady won, just for the record. It's a great story. I mean, obviously you want to respect. I respect the living hell out of Tom Brady. That's clear. But she was all over it last night. She can't stand Tom Brady. She's like, this game is rigged. It's rigged. She's pulling the Trump card. It's rigged. The Super Bowl's rigged. Tom Brady, it's rigged for him. I'll tell you what. There's one argument I will say to that is that the game was definitely skewed with the officiating towards the Bucs, but the Chiefs did not help themselves with stupid penalties either. Let's be real. So yeah, we can say the Bucks kind of got some favorable calls. I'll roll with you there, but at the same time, the Chiefs didn't help themselves either. They really didn't. So Tom Brady, number 7. Will he get an 8th next year? I'll say the odds are pretty decent to get back there. The NFC's wide open. Who's challenging the Bucks? The Bucks might be better next year than this year. What's going to happen in the rest of the conference? The Packers still be pretty good, but they're beatable. Seattle's pretty good, but they're beatable. Okay, so the Rams get Matthew Stafford. What does that change? Maybe a little? The Niners might be back, depending on who they get a quarterback. I mean, if as long as that Jimmy Garoppolo, they have a ceiling. They have a ceiling. Tampa might be back here again because they might be actually better in 2021 than they were in 2020. That's a fact. So, as for the Chiefs, I'll tell you what. There's actually a good chance we may see a rematch next year in the Super Bowl because unless it's the seismic change in the league this coming off season, I think these two teams are the clear best teams in their respective conferences. Honestly, who's going to challenge Chiefs in the AFC? Okay, Buffalo's really good, but let's see what they could do. Baltimore has a ceiling right now. That's Lamar Jackson. Somehow improves. Who else in the AFC is going to threaten the Chiefs? Really, there's no one else. There really isn't. The Browns. I mean, the Browns are decent, and they put up a fight against Kansas City, but come on now. You got to show me for me to really buy into it. And the NFC, like I said, in the NFC side, it's wide open. Tampa has a better team top to bottom. So, this is a very good chance we might see a rematch next year. It really is. So, again, congrats to Bruce Arians. And, oh, by the way, coaching staff, all black. Get those names in the network, man. Get them in the network. They deserve it. Phenomenal job this year. Phenomenal playoff run. A run that included beating Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Pat Mahomes. I'm just saying. Anyway. So, speaking of sports, I've been slacking a little bit lately on my NBA watching last couple weeks. Honestly, and I don't really know why. I always go through this little thing like every year where, like, my NBA diehard. There'll be like a 2-week period a year where I kind of don't watch every game, or I don't really I feel a little disengaged from the season, and then I catch myself after that point. It came a little early this year, obviously, even with the season starting late. But I've kind of felt a little bit disengaged the last couple weeks, and I think the reason why is because I haven't been able to watch any Miami Heat games, because what's happened is I used to be able to watch the games through Hulu Live, but then Sinclair Broadcasting and the Hulu can't come to agreement, so you have no access to the Heat games. There's only one way to get Heat games, and you have to order Comcast cable, and I'm not doing that. I haven't gotten cable in about 6-7 years. I'm not about to blow my budget. I mean, I would for the Heat, but I really want to. So I've been missing out on the Heat games. So because the Heat games I'm missing, I don't feel as engaged. And we're wrong. I'm still a fan of watching all 30 teams, including Miami. It's just that it's been a little frustrating having been watching the Heat games. I watch the highlights, or I watch the games 3 days later on League Pass, because you can't watch on League Pass because I'm within a certain amount of miles here in South Florida. So you can't watch the games till 3 days later, 72 hours later, which is stupid for the record. Very dumb. These blackout rules are dumb. You think with the being the pandemic, the league would actually loosen up those rules, but they won't. So, but I've been kind of out of the loop a little bit the last couple weeks, and I say that as someone who just did an NBA podcast last week, Thursday, with Greg Carinia. If you listen to that podcast, really good stuff. And I don't know, but I'm back. I'm back tonight. I think tonight I'll be back. Watch some of the League Pass after I get done this podcast, of course. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, speaking of Super Bowl, also real quick, I didn't touch on this actually. Super Bowl halftime performance for very polarizing. The Weeknd performed last night. I gotta be honest with you. I actually enjoyed his performance. A lot of people, now you go on social media, there's really no middle ground. There are people who love the Weeknd's performance last night, and there are people who hate it. I liked it. You know, I mean, the Weeknd is decent. I know a couple songs here and there, but I was never really a fan, if you call it. And I think now, after last night, rather, I think I'm a little bit of a fan now. I mean, it's not Bruno Mars good. I prefer Bruno Mars. I mean, the performance was not probably top 5 all time. I mean, it wasn't Michael Jackson, Prince, U2 good. You know, it wasn't even Lady Gaga good. It wasn't even Bruno Mars good. But it was solid. I mean, you know, for the amount of Super Bowls we have, I would say it was definitely in the top third. I mean, I like the stage show was good. The songs are pretty solid. I mean, he's not really a performer in the same way that of someone I would like to watch. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. You know? So, he was solid. I enjoyed it, you know? I mean, like I said, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I'm not going to sit and complain about it. It was good entertainment. You know, it's what it is. So he was good. Weeknd was good. So, you know, props to him. Unfortunately, I was able to watch the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, because Metallica, my favorite band in the entire world, of course, they were scheduled to perform last night on the show. And unfortunately, something came up last minute, so I missed the performance last night. Ended up watching it this morning on Facebook. And I was hoping they'd perform a newer song or something a little more rare. And they did Enter Sandman. But I will say this. It's probably the best performance of that song I think I've heard in years. It sounded really good and energetic. James Hetfield sounds vocally great. They sounded great, actually. And it got me thinking, actually, too, and we'll probably do something on this later in the year as it's closer to the anniversary of the Black Album. This year is indeed the 30-year anniversary of that song and the album, the Black Album, and Enter Sandman, 30 years. August of 1991 was released in the Black Album, August 12th to be exact. And so it made sense they did that song, actually. So even though I'm a diehard fan, prefer to hear the newer stuff or something more rare, it was kind of cool to actually, you know, it did sound good. And I think I kind of sort of like, after a while, I was like, you know, okay, fine, look, it's cool. You can play Enter Sandman. I know I'm sick of the song. I've heard the song so many goddamn times, you know. But, you know, it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. But I enjoyed the performance. I watched this morning, like I said. I woke up, and it was good. So this will be a kind of a shorter end pod. Last thing before I let you go, I started WandaVision on Disney Plus. I'm enjoying it. A lot of complaints about the show for the first few weeks, because this show's being put out weekly. Now, they dropped the first 2 episodes of the season about a couple weeks ago. Then every single week since then, one each every Friday. And a lot of the complaints I heard about WandaVision so far was that it was really slow. It was just too time consuming in terms of the storytelling. And to me, this is indicative of the era we're in now. And I don't want to be the get off my lawn guy, because I know I'm a bit in the old. I don't say old, but I'm 40 years old. You know, I'm 40, so I'm probably a little. I see a little different things and whatnot. But one of the reasons why I love this show is because it's slow, because it's detail oriented, because it takes its time. Folks are so used to just getting the quick fix, because we live in an era now where everything is on demand and now. We want everything now. And I get that. You're only your product, your own environment. But the storytelling was great. Everybody was saying, you know, keep watching the show to episode 4, because episode 4 is when it really picks up. A lot of people dropped off. People who got bored after the first 2 or 3 episodes just dropped off. And I watched the show. I'm caught up now. And I'm telling everybody, listen, stick with it. By episode 4, you'll be hooked. And then the first couple episodes will make more sense why it was so time-consuming and detailed and all that. I'm enjoying it. And I think also the backdrop they're using with using the sitcom television era, it starts on the 50s and 60s television era and it goes through the 80s and all that. I think it's genius. And someone who actually appreciates old school television, Brady Bunch, Partridge Family, you name it, you go into the 80s, Family Ties and Growing Pains and all those shows, and you can see little references also on the show of that. It's great. And I think it's genius. I think it's really genius. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. So every Friday, drop a new episode. And, the folks listen to the podcast who may have started the show and dropped off, my advice is get back on the horse. It's worth it. Trust me. I need to watch Cobra Kai also and a couple of other shows. There's a lot of shows I'm so behind on the last couple of years. I need to get back on the horse on that one. So maybe we should just do less podcasts and more television watching. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, shorter end show today. We'll get back to it this later on. But again, I'm on Twitter at EJChristian7. Again, the podcast is finding all the podcast catchers I said earlier, including now YouTube. So again, I'm waving at you guys again from YouTube on the video aspect. As I said, not every episode probably on video, although most probably will moving forward. That's the goal. So until then, we'll talk soon. Later.